All right, everybody, welcome in. We are off and rolling here on a Thursday. It's the Kidder and Kev Show. Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. And Kev, where else are we on right now?
Chatterbox Sports.
That's right. I'm Justin Kidder. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
We have a big couple hours lined up here today. I about said it's a Monday. It feels like a Monday. We were off yesterday because the Reds. Well, I did jump on for like a half hour just to find out that the Reds were going to do the half-hour pregame and then just kick the can down the road. They eventually got the game in. They didn't start until first pitch was until 8 o'clock. But they had to get it in because it was the final game of that series. They don't play again the rest of the way, so they'd have to find a way, or at least play a game in Philly. So they'd have to find a way to use an off day to potentially fly back in to just play one game and take an off day away. They didn't want to do that. Although I don't want to hear about them talk about off days. I mean, heck, you play opening day, you get a day off. Play 4 games, get another day off. I mean, I know there's wild stretches where it feels like they don't have an off day for weeks, but my goodness, a lot of off days early on for the Cincinnati Reds. I don't think they're complaining though.
No PTO.
No, we got PTO. We got PTO.
Does it roll over this year?
I don't know the last time I used all my PTO.
I'm going to use all mine this year, so buckle up, people.
I might take tomorrow off. As far as that's concerned. But a lot to dive into, of course, and we'll kick off the show, of course, with what's trending in the world of sports. Anything that kind of catches our attention that we really want to spend, that we really can't spend a whole ton of time on, but we combine them all. What's trending in the world of sports? We are off and rolling. One of the highlight stories of the NCAA tournament this year was, of course, the Oakland Golden Grizzlies out of the Horizon League. They upset Kentucky in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And the big thing with them is who got all the attention, who got all the coverage was Jack Golke, who we had on the show just last week. Of course, he goes from a guy that had no NIL deals to north of $1 million in NIL money since then. I mean, and they got knocked out in just a couple games later. But with that being said, he wasn't the only impressive player on the Golden Grizzlies because Trey Townsend, the Horizon League Player of the Year, he was dominant. I mean, he had back-to-back double-doubles. He did exactly what he did, dominating against the Horizon League. Of course, people try to chalk it up as, well, it's the Horizon League. Well, he dominated Kentucky. He dominated NC State, who's a Final Four team right now. So I'd say the guy did pretty damn good, if you ask me. But he did what most good players do in the mid-major conferences, Kev. He's entered the transfer portal. Stop me if you've heard that one before.
Chucking the deuces, man. Didn't he transfer already before? If I'm not mistaken.
No. He started at Oakland. He started at Oakland, I believe.
Okay.
I should know. I work with the Horizon. I should know all of this like the back of my head. No, his dad played at Oakland. He always drank it because the storyline with him was him always holding that little popsicle stick, up with the picture of Greg Campy on it. So that's what made the story so great. Look, I heard rumblings of him leaving when we played at Oakland. I call games for Wright State. So when we played at Oakland, there was a couple people who said, yeah, he's going to enter the transfer portal. The team to keep an eye out. And again, with us being on Chatterbox with the heavy Cincinnati following, Xavier is a team to keep an eye out for because there was talks of Sean Miller approaching him after that Oakland game, and obviously, having an offer for him. But keep in mind, that was just based on how he had performed throughout the season. You would have to think that maybe some bigger schools might have, really kind of latched onto him once they saw what he did to Kentucky and NC State in the NCAA tournament.
Another team I would think about would be Michigan State. I mean, he fits the Michigan State profile, a long wing that can score on the block and from the outside. I would keep an eye on Michigan State.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, too. I mean, he's from the area. That would be a big get for Tom Izzo, no doubt about it. Next up to the NFL we go, Kev. The Chargers have been named the top landing spot for Baltimore Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins.
Young Dobbins. Look, man, Dobbins' career in the NFL has been hampered by a ton of injuries, and not just nagging injuries like hamstrings and things of that nature, season-ending injuries. Obviously, they went ahead and let Eckler walk in the offseason, so they need to replace him with another running back. It's not going to be a high-price item for them, so I don't see really another landing spot for a position that is devalued in the monetary situation, but also a guy that's coming off major injuries. He needs to latch on to whomever is willing to give him a contract, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and look, I think that, by the way, he was a great running back before he went down. I mean, there was already the talks of, and we know how teams in the NFL, they prioritize running backs. That's why I've never agreed with that mindset of, the NFL doesn't value running backs. They value running backs. They just don't financially value running backs because that's one of the easier positions to replace. I'm not saying it's as simple as, you lose a great running back, you replace him with a great one. It's that easy, but that's, of all the positions out there that are important, that is one of the easier ones to replace when it's all said and done. But when you knew that the Ravens were in position where they were going to have to pay Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins was, starting, wanting his contract negotiations to start. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Of course, then here we are couple years later, and the Ravens, what do? They dump some heavy dollars into, the best, top 3 running back in the NFL, and Derrick Henry. So, look, if he returns to what he was before that injury, Kev, I think the Chargers could land a good one. That'd be a hell of a running back to replace a good back that they lost over there with Justin Herbert. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. All the injuries that the Chargers had last season, from the wide receivers to the offensive line to their quarterback and Herbert. It's a lot of guys coming back from injuries. So I hope that training room is ready to deal with getting these guys back to 100% healthy.
It's the Kinder and Kev show here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We are also live on Chatterbox Sports. We appreciate Trace and the guys for kind of letting us hijack their YouTube channel a little bit. I know they debuted their show earlier today. Appreciate them off the bench. We got a lot of great feedback, and we're glad to be hanging out with all of you here today, whether it's our listeners here in Dayton or those hanging out with us in the Chatterbox Sports chat box over here on the side, which we'll get to those in a moment. I know those guys are, they're chiming in with them left and right. I haven't read the box yet. I get really distracted. And I'm curious to see if the people in the chat on YouTube are nicer than the guys that are on my Facebook page, Kev.
We're going to see.
We're going to see.
We got a nice little topic for the fan base of Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. But next up, Richard Pitino.
Hey.
You've heard of him. Old Dick Pitino. You've heard of him, right? He's back in the headlines, Kev. The NCAA, it's like old times. It's a very old school feel. It's the nostalgia I'm feeling. The NCAA looking into Rick Pitino because apparently the NCAA feels they have to launch an investigation into St. John's head coach, Coach Pitino, because of alleged tampering with players not yet in the transfer portal. I'm going to defend him here. Yeah, I got to stop. This is just they have an axe to grind with him. Obviously, they've had beef in the past. Look, I'm not defending him. I'm not saying he's done anything right, but he hasn't done anything wrong when you look at what every other damn coach in college athletics is doing. But it is just a headline. It's a storyline. It's a talking point because it is Richard Pitino who's back to coaching, obviously with St. John's this year after a couple years at Iona. But nonetheless, the NCAA, they're back at it, going after old Coach Pitino.
Yeah, Coach Pitino's always in the news, and a lot of the recent news has been for the wrong reasons, off the court situations leading to him leaving Louisville and things of that nature, having to take a step down to go to Iona, but he's back into, the Big East and places where he cut his teeth, things of that nature. Look, man, this is the new world of college basketball, and I'll say the same thing to Coach Pitino that I said to Coach Prime. You got to have degrees of separation. You got to have an assistant reaching out to these dudes. You got to have an assistant of the assistant, a grad assistant reaching out to these guys.
Dwight Schrute. You don't watch The Office, so you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know, but you can't be the head coach, the Rick Pitino, the Coach Prime, the Deion Sanders, literally in Cat's DMs. Those are easily screenshotable, if that's a word. So, you can't do that, man. And I understand Coach Pitino is 70, 71 years old, but look, man, you got to be smarter than that. You got to surround yourself with people and insulate yourself from this type of baggage. This is stuff you don't need. It's going to be a minor slap on the wrist, but this is something you don't need.
He's 70 what?
71. He'll be 72 September 18th.
Man, about 10 more years, he'll be old enough to run for president. So not bad. All right, next up, we've talked about the rumors of Meechie Johnson returning to Ohio State, and they're no longer rumors. It's happening. Of course, Rodney Gale is transferring out. He's entered the transfer portal. Meechie Johnson coming in. I know we talked about this the other day. Everyone said, including, and look, I agreed with you and everyone. Who do we have? Adam Jardy with the Columbus Dispatch. We talked about the potential of Meechie Johnson returning to Ohio State. And one thing we had talked about that you guys, both agreed on was the fact that, well, they already have a deep backcourt as it is. Where there wouldn't be room for him, or would it make sense? And I said, well, it would make sense if one of those guys bounces, obviously, and that ended up being the case. Now, I know Gale said that him leaving had nothing to do with Meechie coming in, that the goal was to have a very deep backcourt and, 3 very good guards, but that's no longer the case. But with that being said, Meechie Johnson, a Buckeye once again.
I'm coming home. This is awesome for the Buckeyes, and more importantly, also for Meechie and his whole family. Look, man, Meechie has wanted to be a Buckeye since he was a little kid. If you're from the Cleveland area like I am, you understand and know his story. Him trying to make himself a better basketball player, being smaller for his size, finally hits that growth spurt in 10th grade, starts getting recognized, gets on Ohio State's radar, goes to Ohio State, actually enrolls at Ohio State early at Ohio State. Things didn't work out for him there. He was actually coming off an injury. Enrolled at Ohio State, still came there, played pretty decent his second year. Things didn't work out for whatever reason. He transfers out, blossoms into the player that he is now at South Carolina, and now he's coming back to the Ohio State University.
Don't sing. Don't sing.
Oh,
Yeah, because if you sing, you might have hit such a great note that YouTube will say, "Hey, you know
I
what?
doubt it.
Oh, they didn't say don't sing." I mean, I was being mean at first,
I
but then I
doubt
thought
it.
about it. I'm like, they might have copyright. I mean, that was
I,
such a beautiful note.
I doubt that I hit the
Like
right
Fergie
note.
and Jesus. That was a great voice right there, nonetheless. Speaking of the transfer portal, Bronny James, I don't know if you know his dad. His dad's a pretty good basketball player.
Who's his dad?
I think LeBron is his name. But
That dude?
yeah, Bronny in the transfer portal, transferring from USC. I think that's kind of interesting. Everyone pointing at Ohio State, but there might be another dark horse team in the running for old Bronny.
I got two. I got two for you. I got two possible transfer destinations for Bronny.
UD. Technically, yes.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take UD. I'll take Wright State. Hey, come on down. Keep running the game too. I'm gonna say number one Oregon and number two Dark Duquesne.
That's right. Are they DU or UD? That's what I meant by UD.
Oh,
yeah. Technically, Ronnie's from Ohio. Anthony Grant don't like anyone from Ohio, so he probably wouldn't come here. But I'm just saying, like, yeah. So DU or is it UD for Duquesne? Are they Duquesne University? DU. Okay. All right. Well, you dribble and you shoot.
Duquesne. Yeah. I mean, his dad's best friend is now the head coach there. I mean, it seems like a good fit. I mean, shoot, we would love it here in the A10. Go get to see Bronny in the arena.
Absolutely.
And boo him because he don't play for the Flyers.
Drew Joyce, again, the new head coach for Duquesne, and then LeBron has been very outspoken in his support for Drew Joyce at Duquesne. So that would be a wild. Would that like to go from USC to be rumored to go to Ohio State to go to Duquesne? But again, it's all about relationships, and in today's NIL era, he's going to be taken care of no matter where he goes.
Yeah,
so,
he has deals with Beats by Trey. Like you mentioned, his dad is LeBron James. I think Bronny will be A-OK financially.
It's the Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Just joining us again, we're walking through what's trending right now in the world of sports. How about this one, Kev? Jackson County, Missouri, has voted against a sales tax extension to fund stadium project. Kansas City Chiefs. Seems like the Chiefs will be moving elsewhere, according to reports from NBC. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you have the boyfriend of Taylor Swift. I mean, my God, that would be quite a team to lure into some NFL needy city. Look, I think this is like when those cable channels put out those little warnings.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to watch your March Madness, if you want to watch your Cincinnati Reds, although that threat became actually true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Screw you, YouTube TV. I'm just saying. Oh wait, we're on YouTube. I don't know if that comes back, but nonetheless, the bottom line is this seems like one of those threats like I never take serious. Oh man, you better call your cable provider and speak up because if not, you can't watch this. Look, I think that's what this is. They ain't leaving Kansas City. They'll get it done.
I would normally agree with you with that situation, but I remember this very thing happening with the St. Louis Rams.
True.
St. Louis Rams, I mean, like they were off the turf. They won a Super Bowl, back to another, and guess what? They took the deuces to St. Louis left and never came back. So I can't say that this isn't going to happen. And you already have the mayor of Dallas campaigning to Dallas. Apparently, like the Chiefs used to be in Dallas, something I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, Dallas is a huge market that would love to have franchises. I mean, you know how people in Texas think Texas is the greatest state in the union, and they look at places like New York and Los Angeles and think, why can't we have multiple NFL teams? So I wouldn't poo-poo it. But what I will say is these owners, boy, they be having some nerve. And pardon my bad English, but they do be having some bad nerve because they really want the fans and they really want the citizens to pay for their stadiums, man. Breaking news to everybody. I know this is a sports talk show, but not everybody likes sports. Not everybody sports in their city. So they want people to pay for their stadium and then charge them $50 for a beer, $100 to park, and then give them bad shuttle service, and then they get frostbite at their football game.
Well, I will say, a lot of the rich people I know, I'm not rich. I plan on being one day. When I'm old, like in my 30s. Oh, wait, I am in my 30s. I'm a failure compared to, when they say, where do you want to be in 5 years? 5 years ago, I'd be laughing at me right now. Let's put it that way. However, because a lot of the richest people I know are some of the cheapest people I know. So it doesn't surprise me. When people say, well, you
I
got
saw one of them today.
Million and billionaires out there. They got that way for a reason. It's because they have rich parents who hand it down to them. That's great. Kudos to them. But a lot of the richest people I know, they're some of the cheapest people I know, so it doesn't surprise me. when that's all said and done. But all right, speaking of Dallas, speaking of the state of Texas, there is an NFL team in the state of Texas that is getting a lot of attention, and it is not the Dallas Cowboys, of course. There was a huge trade, a blockbuster trade that went down yesterday, and of course we were off due to Reds baseball. But I want to talk about that trade when we come back. The Buffalo Bills said goodbye to Stefon Diggs, and now all of a sudden you look at Josh Allen, who's been one of the top quarterback in the NFL over recent. He has no weapons. He has nobody to throw the ball to. Their number one weapon they just traded to C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. The Texans have quite a damn good football team when it's all said and done. But let's talk about that trade. Reactions, of course. How does that impact the Cincinnati Bengals? We'll talk about all of that when we come back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show on 1410 ESPN Radio. And yes, our debut on the Chatterbox Sports Network. We'll be right back.
The 0-1.
All right, and we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev show here in Dayton, Ohio, 1410 ESPN Radio. Of course, and Cincinnati Reds baseball. No Reds baseball today. Up a series for the Phillies last night. In fact, they took 2 or 3 from the Nationals to start the season, and then took 2 or 3 from the Phillies on the road late last night, of course, after a long delay due to rain and weather and all that fun stuff. They were able to get that game in, and they were able to take the series. We'll talk a little bit here around the corner. I want to talk some NFL to open up the show today, and we welcome you back again, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. We'll give a shout out to Trey Fowler and Elliott and Casey and everyone out there with Chatterbox. They're holding it down in Hamilton, Ohio right now, and they're allowing us to go live on their network. They got all the cool graphics. They got all the nice cameras and the lights. We look like we know what the hell we're doing because we did not know what the hell we were doing before, but we appreciate their partnership. And everyone here in Dayton got a chance to hear their show earlier today. In fact, 5 full hours of local sports talk here in the Miami Valley every day, starting at 1 o'clock. Of course, off the bench with Trey Fowler and the guys from 1 to 3, and then Kev, the Kinner and Kev show from 3 to 6. Right here on ESPN Radio.
Lots of local programming. I mean, on Mondays, we got crazy lineup. On Thursdays, we got one crazy lineup. I mean, shouts out to Big Kev, and they got cars subject to change if you're a wrestling fan, so tap in with us.
That's tonight. It's Thursday.
Dang.
See, I thought it was a Monday.
Fast.
I thought it was a Monday.
Yes, because yesterday threw me off.
Yeah. Did you come into work? Well, you worked. Did you come into the building?
Yeah, I came in early and then left to go to Central State for a communications week.
That's right.
And then
they didn't want Kenner to go to education day, huh?
No.
Man, I can educate some people. I can pass on this. There's a lot of knowledge between these years.
I don't know if our listeners know, but you used to want to be a teacher.
Student teaching, and then I was done. And I didn't decide that.
See, that part I did not know.
Well, I mean, look, I said it as clear as I could. It's not my fault the dang kid couldn't understand it. And then when you yell at them and throw something at them, they get mad at you. That did not happen. I felt really bad. I was the teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a coach. To be a coach, you basically have to be a teacher nowadays.
Right.
But I was the teacher I hated because, like, I had one way of teaching something, and I had no pivot. There was no pivot. There was no secondary way to get a kid to understand it. And then I was just like, forget this. Now the kid made me feel dumb because I was like, I don't know how else to get you to understand this. Now I'm frustrated. So I'm like, forget it.
Gotta have a counter move. Gotta have a counter move. If they cut you off right, you gotta be able to go left.
So now I do this stuff because when people don't like what I'm saying, I can call them names and not get in trouble.
Hang up on them.
Yeah, hang up on them. The Chatterbox people haven't been introduced to Shaw yet. David Shaw, do you still exist? Are you out there? I don't know. It's been a while. We should play Universe Shaw's greatest hits to kind of give some people some background on David Shaw. He's going to make some friends come football season, no doubt. So, speaking of football, yesterday, Kevin, and this usually happens. I hear, by the way, Elliott, shout out to Elliott. Elliott's always really nervous about bringing up the radio station that he used to work for. 1530 ESPN in Cincinnati. I mean, we're going to bring up 700, right? Lance McAllister says this all the time, that every time he takes a day off of work, he's like, he just knows. Doesn't know what news is going to break on that day, but the second he takes off a day or takes off of work, that's going to be something happen. That's what happened yesterday. We couldn't be on the show yesterday because of Reds, and that's usually what happens. Every time something major happens or big happens, we can't be on the air to react to it. Nonetheless, it was a blockbuster trade yesterday that involved a wide receiver. It involved the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has no more weapons, Kev, because our guy C.J. Stroud, former Buckeye quarterback, he was pretty damn good last year as a rookie, and he's going to be even more impressive this upcoming season because has Stefon Diggs to go along with a couple of his elite weapons over in Houston. When you saw that, what was your reaction?
Wow. My first reaction was, wow, the Buffalo Bills don't have any wide receivers. They're really into the tight end thing because obviously we talk about Stefon Diggs leaving, but Gabe Davis, he left the agency to go to Jacksonville. So the 2 starting wide receivers are gone. So we kind of know where they're going in the draft, right? Like, I'm not sure what round or what pick they have, but I'm pretty sure they're going to go with wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills to restock that room for Josh Allen. And then my second thought was, man, C.J. Stroud, they're really giving you some stuff. They're really giving you some toys. Stefon Diggs will 31 this upcoming season. He's a speed receiver, so he can still stretch the field. So my biggest question for C.J. Stroud and Stefon Diggs and everybody involved with the Houston Texans is, you think it can't happen to you? You think Stefon Diggs can't go Stefon Diggs on YouTube? because Stefon Diggs sure went Stefon Diggs on Josh Allen and everybody up there in Buffalo. Stefon Diggs went Stefon Diggs on everybody out there in Minnesota at one time or another too. CJ, you think it happened to you because he's done it to everybody else. So watch out.
And the thing is, though, when things are going well, and this is like, this for most teams. Look, I've said this about the Cincinnati Bengals. When they started clicking, that year they go to the Super Bowl, and then, obviously they get the back-to-back AFC championship games, and they said, hey, I don't really put a lot of stock into teams early on who are having success early because they haven't faced adversity yet. And that's C.J. Stroud. People said, well, Kidder, how come when Burrow was doing well, you kept saying, well, he has Jamar Chase, and he has T. Higgins, and he has Tyler Boyd, and he has this, that, and the other, and all that. And I was like, well, that wasn't hating. That was just me looking at it realistically. Like, okay, it's easier to be Joe Burrow right now when you have three elite wide receivers. You have the best wide receiving core in football, but we're going to judge other quarterbacks when they don't look as hot, when they don't have as many weapons. So I said, you got to wait to see who the Cincinnati Bengals are once they face a little adversity. And I don't look at injuries as adversity, I guess, but like this with the Buffalo Bills, when you start losing games that you shouldn't, and that's when you learn about who these players are. Jamar Chase, learned a little bit more about him this past year. He was a little bit mouthier than I would like, but the guy kept performing. I can say you can run your mouth. If you're going to run your mouth, at least go back it up on the field. Jamar Chase does that. We still don't know about the Bengals yet because, again, I don't chalk that up to them losing last year as, that was adversity. Joe Burrow's out. You take anyone's franchise quarterback out, it's going to totally change the trajectory of that season, no doubt about it. So as we sit here right now, I look at the Buffalo Bills. They started losing some games that they shouldn't have. Talent slowly started trickling off that roster, and winning games became a little bit more difficult. And then we wanted to tune in to watch Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes. And then when the Bills come up short, or they do win, or don't look as good, they lose the playoffs, and what have you. It's just not as loaded a roster as what it was 2 years ago. But now he has no weapons. He has none. Stefon Diggs is gone, and Stefon Diggs is one of those that when things are going well, he's going to play well, and he's going to be a good teammate. But he's not a good teammate because when things are going wrong, he's not the guy that you want, in that foxhole with you, if you will. I think he's going to do well in Houston because I think they're going to be very, very good offensively. I think that at least this coming up here, you can feel pretty good about Houston, Kev, because they have all the weapons that you need. I tweeted out yesterday, I put on the Facebook page, I think this is the most well-rounded offense in the NFL. You have Schultz at tight end. All right, you have Joe Mixon that you brought in at running back. Okay, he was a 1,000-yard back. I know he looked like he lost a step with the Bengals, but still ran for 1,000 yards last year. And now you add Stefon Diggs, Dell, and these guys. I just think that right now the Houston Texans, along with the second-year quarterback, who, in my opinion, if it was not a rookie, would have been in the MVP conversation. Would not have been the favorite to win it, but at least would have been in the MVP conversation with how many yards and touchdowns he threw. His team not just made the playoffs but won the division. Would have been in the MVP discussion if he wasn't a rookie quarterback, in my opinion. I think that the Texans, AFC, NFC, the Texans, Kev, to me, are maybe the scariest NFL right now.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Do you have like the trade?
I'll pull it up real quick. As far as like what they gave out.
Yeah. Because I think that can give you more information about if this is a good trade or not. Everybody.
I know it was a second round. I knew it was a second round pick, and I mean they're still getting a lot of the money. I mean, it's like $30 million. They're dead money.
Okay, I see it. It's a 2025 second round pick to the Buffalo Bills for Stefon Diggs, and this year's 2024 draft pick, and 2025 fifth round draft pick. So they gave him a second round pick for Stefon Diggs. This is a good move for the Houston Texans. So I was on the negative side, and I'm still a little questioning because man, he's shown the ability to pop off on teammates and head coaches of that nature. But giving up a second round pick for him is a good move because guess what? You don't have to give him a new contract. You don't have to trade a second round pick to the Cincinnati Bengals for T. Higgins and then give him a contract. You don't have to trade a second or first round pick to the Niners for IU and then give him a contract. He has a contract already. And after his contract is up, guess where he's not going to be playing? Houston Texans. So you give up a second round pick for a very good wide receiver who is volatile. Like you said, when things are fine, he's getting the ball, he's getting his catches, he's getting his touchdowns, he's getting his numbers, he's perfectly fine. And with a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, with Nico Collins, and then you got talking about Schultz, and then you talking about Tank Dell coming back. It's a lot of one-on-one matchups for somebody out there. So all the teams that have teams in the AFC, we need to worry about them. We need to worry about the Texans.
And talk about the Texans more in just a few moments regarding are they the biggest threat to the Bengals in the AFC? You look with the Bengals, Joe Burrow back fully healthy. We'd like to assume that are the Texans that team. Everyone talks about the Chiefs, and it was the Bills. The Bills are on the back burner now, at least until we see what weapons they put around Josh Allen. And we'll talk more about the Texans and the Bengals and what that means for them coming up here in a moment, because there's another angle for the Bengals to look at too. You look at the draft or the trade compensation that they got for Stefon Diggs with T. Higgins requesting a trade, and I don't think the Bengals ultimately pulled the trigger on it. But what would a realistic return look like? I mean, this is the first elite wide receiver we saw just get traded to kind of give you an maybe the trade market could look like for T. Higgins. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a few moments. But as far as the Texans are concerned, I love what the Texans are doing because remember when free agency started, we were a couple days in, Kevin. I said, man, I was expecting a little bit more flair from them. Mm-hmm. I was expecting a little bit more noise from them in free agency, and they were just kind of flat. They added a couple pieces on defense. They didn't really go all in as much as I thought that they would.
I'm glad you used that phrase.
All in?
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to use something else. No, I mean, to the wall.
You can say balls to the wall. You're allowed to say that on radio. You don't like
I know you can say it on YouTube.
To the wall.
I didn't know you were allowed to say that on the good old radio.
There's the George Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say them, please.
So you can't say you can't say but he never says balls to the wall in there. So I'm just saying, nonetheless. So with that being said, the Houston Texans are doing something that I think is very, very smart, and I think that all teams who have drafted a quarterback and are a believer in that quarterback, and this is the debate here for you and I, Kev. Do you wait to see if you have an elite rookie quarterback to put weapons around, or do you get that roster set up for that rookie quarterback to come in and have success? Because here's the problem. Like the Cincinnati Bengals, they get Joe Burrow. It was a throwaway year. Let's just see if Burrow's Joe Burrow. Oh, he's Joe Burrow. Okay, now we're definitely going to take Jamar Chase high in this draft. Now we're definitely going to put $150 million in our defense. Now we're going to go cojones to the wall to lift the roster up. But they wasted that first year for Joe, right? The Houston Texans were a last place team. They were a team. No one. I don't care. I knew the first day of camp that we had a chance to be special. Yeah, coaches talk, but. Deep down, you don't go from last place to first place to winning your division to winning a playoff game, but that's what they did with something special like C.J. Stroud. I like what the Texans are doing in year two. They're not wasting time. They went out and got him an elite wide receiver right away. You know what the Bears are doing. They're loading up that roster, assuming that they're going to get Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is going to come in and be pretty good right off the bat if he is what we expect him to be, right? I just think it's smart for teams to stop drafting a quarterback, wait to see if he's special, then put pieces around him. I think you should give him every damn piece you possibly can coming in to maximize that rookie year. Because last year, you have to think if C.J. Stroud has a Stefon Diggs last year, if they have a couple more pieces on defense last year, if they would have just went all in, of course, we didn't even know that they wanted C.J. Stroud up until drafted. But all I'm saying is I just wish teams would be more proactive ahead of drafting a rookie quarterback instead of waiting to see if they have a rookie quarterback. Because let's say you draft that rookie, you have all these weapons on this roster, that rookie doesn't work out. Well, now there's always that disgruntled old veteran quarterback out of a situation. Or there's always that free agent veteran quarterback that might be looking for a better situation. Now you're a destination spot instead of trying to play catch up. I just wish more teams would be proactive roster management-wise than always waiting to see what you have and basically throwing a year away.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. I am of the mindset that every team operates differently, just like every GM has their mind frame set, how they want to structure a team. So I don't necessarily knock them for all right, just dipping their toe in, so to speak, to see what we got. And then I think even if CJ was good, they wouldn't have did this move. They saw that CJ was great. Okay, now we're just about to go ahead and do it. I think it's the feeling that you get from watching somebody play and watching the momentum of a football team that makes you go the extra. Because there's no doubt in my mind that if he didn't play like this past season, that they would make a move like this. Because this is a sense of a gamble. You are giving up a second-round pick. I mean, you gave up your first-round pick this season to go ahead and trade up and get Will Anderson with the pick again after they drafted C.J. Stroud. So, they already made a big gamble in getting, the best quarterback in their eyes and the best defensive player in their eyes. So, all right, man, we got something set. Let's just see where we go. But the way that they played, especially the back half of the season, I mean, we forget CJ missed 2 games
Hmm.
during the season as well. They won one and lost one. They lost to your Cleveland Browns, and I believe they beat. I can't remember who they beat, but they won that second matchup, and then they win the game versus the Colts that division to the playoffs, and then beat the Browns in the
Yeah,
playoffs,
they did.
and then Baltimore and lose. So they're obviously saying like we need more weapons. When you load them up, and he's making players like Nico Collins better. Nico Collins was good. He was okay. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy on the roster. You know what I'm saying? But like he made Nico Collins like, oh, that's the talent that everybody saw when he's a 5-star recruit coming out of high school that went to Michigan. I mean, if you look at Nico Collins' career, like he's finally reaching that potential that everybody thought he was going to
Yeah.
have because he never reached that at Michigan for whatever reason, hadn't reached that early in his career in the NFL. And now you get him a quality quarterback. He is. And how do you make Nico Collins even better? Oh, we'll go get Stefon Diggs. How can you make Tank Dell even better? Oh, we'll go get Stefon Diggs. How you make Strohs better? We'll get Stefon Diggs. You can't double anybody. Somebody get one-on-one. It's scary out. It's scary for us today.
Yeah, because you have the deep threat in Stefon Diggs. You have a very good slot receiver. You have a very good tight end. I mean, Texans. I mean, CJ Stroud. He's about to experience. He's about to have the Joe Burrow experience, where he has so many weapons to use. Maybe not. But I mean, look, for some of our Chatterbox sports listeners, yeah, you don't like me already. You're about to not like me even more. I mean, I'm a Browns fan. Kev Nash, what's the team you follow?
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Yes, Steelers. So, but this might be a lot of fun here on this show come football season, nonetheless. But let's talk a little Cincinnati Bengals because when the Bengals are completely healthy, when Joe Burrow is completely healthy, they are an obvious Super Bowl contender. And when you look at the landscape of the NFL over recent years, it's been the Buffalo Bills, it's been the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, the Cleveland Browns haven't been Super Bowl contenders in recent years, but they've had. I mean, they've had these teams that they've been keeping an eye on in the AFC. Houston has not been one of them, but they have to pay attention to them now. Texas, are they the biggest threat to a 100% healthy Joe Burrow Cincinnati Bengal team versus the Kansas City Chiefs? Is it the Cleveland Browns who have had their number for years now? Is it the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who is it? Who is the number one threat to the AFC to your precious Cincinnati Bengals? That's what we're going to talk about when we come back. More of the Kidder and Kev Show, 10 ESPN Radio and the Chatterbox Sports Network. For those who are experiencing audio issues on the YouTube side, try to get that fixed. Thank you to Elly and Casey in the background trying to fix that. But we'll get that addressed and hopefully get that back up and rolling.
Take your time, man.
It's been great. Debbie approves.
Hey, everybody listening on YouTube. I am working on a solution. All right, chat. We got a couple solutions coming up, so hopefully you'll have a good rest of Kenner and Kev coming up. Also, let me know down below what you want to hear throughout these breaks. Do you want to have something like a commercial, or do you want something else? Let me know. Copyrighted music. Anything. Just let me know.
All right, let's try this again, shall we? It's the Kenner and Kev show. Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We welcome you back. We are trying very, very hard to get the audio issues fixed in the background. Shout out to Trace and everyone in the back. Casey, they're working their hardest. Give them some time. Look, we're launching this today. We partnered up with Chatterbox. We did some stuff during Reds Fest. That's the first time, me and Nick Kirby, we hosted our Reds Fest program at Duke Energy Convention Center back in December. That's the first time I got to meet Trace and just, kind of feel each other out a little bit to kind of see if we could work together. Then Trace and I worked the Reds Caravan at the National Museum of the United States Air Force here in Dayton, and that clicked. And then that's just when the ball get rolling as far as like a joint partnership. And we're having a blast with this, obviously. I mean, they had their show earlier today from 1 to 3. It's obviously a repeat of what they do earlier in the day, of course. But we got a lot of good feedback there. And, of course, feedback is what we're getting with the mic issues right now. So following the chat a little bit, yes, I'm a Browns fan. Shoot me. Don't, actually. I would prefer if you did it. My wife is all right. Life insurance policy is pretty all right, but Kev's a Steelers fan, but it's okay. This idea that we're not going to do a cheerleader show, but why can't we still talk about your team? That's the thing that I've always questioned. Like people get mad. Oh, yeah. By the way, there are people who actually think that GMs should hire you based on who your team is. Like they literally thought on the application when I applied for this job that there's a box on this application that says, "Who are you a fan of?" Oh, you're a fan of the Browns. Oh, sorry, you're not qualified to work here. Like, what are you doing? That radio hosts, they get if they get fired or let go, they go get a job in another market. You think they're automatically just fan? Like they moved was here before he moved to Minnesota. Then all of a sudden, if he does sports talk, he's just naturally a Minnesota Twins fan. Hell no, he's gonna blend in. He's gonna pretend. That's my problem, Kev. I struggle with pretending to be a fan, but I was paid to give my opinion, so that's kind of how I view it. But it doesn't have to be a confrontational thing either, all the time.
So since we have so many new listeners and viewers of the show, tell them how you became a Browns fan.
Oh yeah, see that's the thing too. I was gonna make it down. Never mind. No, I'm from El Paso, Texas.
I knew what you were gonna say.
Yeah, I'm from El Paso, Texas. And I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. My entire family, Dallas Cowboys, because I lived in Texas. I moved to Ohio when I was about 12, and I lived in Van Wert, which is up near Lima. And Lima is where you get. I mean, we didn't get Reds. That's why it's wild that I'm a Reds fan. But I was a Reds fan even when I lived in Texas. So there's that. But we don't get all you get was Guardians games or Indians games at the time, and all you get is Cleveland Browns. You didn't get Cincinnati anything there. So that's why. And why does it matter? Who cares? You're still talking your team. It doesn't matter. Why does it matter? So there we go.
If it helps me, in my case anyway, my dad is a Browns fan, a diehard Browns fan. My grandmother is a Browns fan. My uncles, my wife, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, all Browns fans. But me, my big brother, and mom chose the black and yellow. That's all.
It's usually family related.
Yeah.
So don't make it
personal. And I'm the youngest. So, if my mom and big brother are Steelers fans, of course, that's what I do.
So Nate in the comment section, and again, I'm starting to get comfortable. We're starting to dive into the comment section. I see Drew Garrison. Drew's been talking about coming in and taking over the studio. like it's January 6th or something. He said he was just going to come up in here and just take over the studio. I'm like, I'm really getting a little concerned with your language on the old socials, man. But shout out to Mr. Garrison here. But Nate says, agree, Kenner. Why is Gordon Whitmire credentialed Reds guy? He quite literally is a Cubs fan. And oh, there we go. Hosts a podcast for the Cubs. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. So is he the reporter for the Inquirer, by the way, that is just doing nothing but making enemies on social media? I believe that's who that is that you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Drew Carson said will take over.
Wow.
I'm pulling everybody off. Everyone stand down. We're all friends here. So, but nonetheless, we're off and rolling. Let's talk about my Cleveland Browns. Oh, no. Sorry, wrong city. Cincinnati Bengals. So, no, yeah. Literally right away, when this deal happened yesterday with the Stefon Diggs move, I saw Bengals fans right away chiming in on this move, poking fun at Josh Allen, poking fun at the Bills. I said, hold up. Got to pump the brakes a little bit, okay? The Buffalo Bills are the Cincinnati Bengals just a year or two ahead. Josh Allen was drafted before Burrow. Josh Allen got paid before Joe Burrow. The ramifications of Josh Allen being paid are starting to hit the Bills before Joe Burrow. Now, the Bills didn't do any favors with the Von Miller contract and that stuff. I completely get that. But once you pay your quarterback, this isn't nothing new. It is a lot more difficult to manage your roster, to manage the books. And you have to make tough decisions. And we've already seen the Bengals have to make tough decisions. They've already had to bid farewell to Jesse Bates and move on from their own bell. They had to move on, obviously, from DJ Reader. All right, T. Higgins. I mean, this is basically a $22 million fully guaranteed one-year investment just to try to go all in for one more year. They've already bid farewell to Tyler Boyd. Like, we're already starting to see it, which is why all I'm saying is be careful before pointing the finger at the Bills and laughing, because this very easily could be the Cincinnati Bengals here in the next year, possibly two, especially if the drafts continue to be a little stale like the last couple of years. Now, the Bengals turn things around quickly because they nailed the draft. All right, I was always poking fun at the Bengals because I just thought they have a makeshift GM. They don't know how to draft the offensive line well. They draft wide receiver well. Quarterback, I was always laughing at that, but they hit with Joe Burrow, they hit with T. Higgins, they hit with Logan Wilson, they hit with Jamar Chase. They've done they did a very good job in those couple drafts. They were aggressive with the kicker. I made fun of that. I made fun of the kicker. Everyone made fun of the kicker, and I was a big fan of Money Mac during that little playoff run. So, I mean, he was responsible for 40 points for the Bengals during that playoff push. So I say all of this because they turn things around quickly because of the draft, but they've also started to flatten out a bit because they haven't drafted well the last couple of years. So be careful pointing at the Bills and laughing, because I think the Bills are just the Bengals. Elite quarterback, got paid, and now tough decisions have had to be made, and the Bills had to eat that contract. Now, I get it. It was a little disgruntled situation, but let's be clear. Jamar Chase is a beyond fun wide receiver to watch. He's a great personality. But do you guys know who Jamar Chase is when things aren't going well yet? We don't. So that's why I'm saying just pump the brakes. And I'm poking at the Bills because we don't know what can come with the Bengals. Let's say this season doesn't go as planned. There's already a little disgruntled wide receiver in T. Higgins. If things don't go well, Joe Burrow can't stay healthy. How much, if the contract negotiations haven't even started yet with Jamar Chase, things can turn south quickly, and we're watching that with the Bills.
Yeah, I'll say about moving on from players. Sometimes when you move, not even sometimes, a lot of times when you move on from players, it isn't necessarily for a cap situation. It's just like, all right, man, your time is up with us. Like, we used you, for lack of a better word, your best years. Like, I think Tyler Boyd's best years are behind him. I think that Joe Mixon's best years are behind him. I mean, we were on the show when Joe Mixon decided to get his contract restructured. He didn't decide, like, it was basically, hey, we're going to restructure your contract or you're not going to be playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like one of those situations with a lot of these guys in the NFL. So they're moving on from you because we think that you're not good enough anymore. We think that we can replace you with another asset in the NFL draft. So, yeah, from that standpoint for the Cincinnati Bengals, moving on from Von Bell, now he's come back, on a very friendly deal for the Cincinnati Bengals. So they're trying to work the secondary out. They went and made the splash and got Stone from the Ravens. And, a lot of AFC North guys just seem to love to play and stay in the AFC North. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, they went and got Hilton from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, now the Steelers have went and got Patrick Queen from the Baltimore Ravens. So it's basically a merry-go-round. I mean, Larry Ogunjobi, like, he's in play for every team in the AFC North, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like a round robin. But once a team feels like, all right, man, you're getting long in the tooth, you're not as explosive as you used to be, you're not as productive as you used to be, they'll move on from you. Now, when you have a big contract and you're not producing, it makes it so much easier for them to move on from you. So from the Cincinnati Bengals standpoint, when you still do have a T. Higgins and a Jamar Chase yet to hit your prime, probably you want to hang on to those assets, but the Piper will come due at some point, and the Piper is now come due for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we look at the Diggs, we look at the Gabe Davises of the world, but they also let Trevion White go, like their cornerbacks. They let both their starting safeties go. So, like, man, in the first segment, I was like, oh, man, they're definitely going wide receiver in the first round. Well, man, they got a lot of spots. They got 2 safeties. They got a starting cornerback. They got 2 starting wide receivers they have to replace. It's kind of like you say, if Joe Burrow is as he thinks he is or as people say he is, he can do it with other players. Same principle applies to Josh Allen. If we think Josh Allen is great as Patrick Mahomes or on that same level, he has that rocket ship arm, and he's going to need to make an adjustment and make plays with these new wide receivers that he's got coming.
Kinner and Kev show here on Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM. So I've been very good with clock management today.
So proud of you.
I'm proud, and I know Trey and Elliot and Casey, they were worried about that on their show earlier today. But I'm laughing because they're really worried about messing up the clock. And I'm like, hey, I'm taking notes from you guys. I am the absolute worst. 25-minute segment, sometimes a 5-minute segment. This is about to be 3 15-minute segments. This might be the purest hour of the Kinner and Kev show ever. So there you go. I'm assuming the audio stuff got taken care of. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like we got the thumbs up. They're saying we're good. So this is cool.
Very
You
nice.
just texted it. So Joe Burrow is speaking of Joe Burrow and the Bengals, but Joe Burrow is going to join the live podcast with the boyfriend of Patrick of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, the Kelsey
Patrick
Bros.
Mahomes, my gosh. Yeah.
The Kelsey Bros, New Heights podcast. Since we have a new audience, I have to do my normal spiel.
Yeah.
Did you know that Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey went to my high school?
Never heard of it. Just like I never knew that Elliot used to work in radio before.
Oh,
It's funny you
Cleveland
bring
Heights
that
High
up.
School, baby, home of the Tigers, class of '97.
This is kind of wild. So they're doing that. They're partnering up with, since it's an NIL kind of a fundraiser. But like obviously Kelsey's went to Cincinnati, but like obviously Kelsey known for what he's doing with the Chiefs, and you have the Eagle obviously and the brother, and then now you have Joe Burrow who played at State. There, so that he goes to LSU. So Joe Burrow is helping Cincinnati with NIL technically.
Third school.
I love it. Kinner and Kev
Transfer
show.
portal before the transfer portal.
Yeah, exactly. So no kidding. So again, clock management's better today, but I didn't follow the rundown. We didn't talk about. We teased the biggest threat to the Bengals in the AFC, and then I totally derailed it. So let's try to pretend like I know what I'm doing. So when we come back, the Houston Texans the biggest threat to the Cincinnati Bengals, assuming Joe Burrow's 100% healthy. We'll talk about that when we kick off hour number 2. When we come back.
Hey there, chat. I know that you are all sticking around, hanging out. I appreciate that a lot. Of course, in great Chatterbox fashion, we never get things right on the first try. So hopefully we are working on a solution. We know that there's a problem somewhere in between the software here from the radio station to us. When we tested it the other day, it sounded great. So we're working on trying to fix this issue. If you can just hang in there, I'm sure we'll get it done probably towards the end of the show, to be honest with you, because that's just how we do things here at Chatterbox. So appreciate you guys for hanging out with us, watching the show. I'm sure Kev and Kenner also really appreciate it. Thanks.
And we are back. It's the Kenner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Off and rolling here on a Thursday, not a Monday. I don't know why I got my days mixed up. Told you we were off yesterday. Debuting the show today on the Chatterbox Sports Network. We're trying to iron out a couple of things audio-wise. Overall, excited to be hanging out with some new listeners today. We appreciate everyone who's hanging out with us. This super chat feature is something we got one from a Michigan fan. Drew Garrison.
Cheaters.
So shout out to Drew Garrison. He says, I feel like an 80-year-old trying to operate this damn computer. Everything keeps popping up. Anyway, he's hating the blue.
Wow.
Super chat. That's the slander we got to put up with. The Go Blue. A lot of Buckeye fans here in the Miami Valley. And you know what's interesting, and some of the listeners in the chat can help us out with this, guys. I feel like Ohio State's not liked in the city of Cincinnati. And it's not like I feel like I know that. I know the dynamic. But it is very weird. Ohio State dominates the entire state. But there's a little patch over the 513 that just despises everything Ohio State.
Yeah, they have their own team.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really do.
They're huge Bearcats fans, obviously in basketball and on the football field. I mean, even up in Toledo, like Toledo and Philly area, they're huge Michigan fans up there. Huge Michigan fans. So, like, Ohio State is basically everywhere in the state except, like, Toledo, Philly, and in Cincinnati, and everywhere else in Buckeye country. And I actually, even, like, towards, like, Athens and that area, like, you get, like, West Virginia and Pitt fans over
there. Got to spray from that.
there.
All right. Last thing on this NFL topic, I want to move on to some baseball and stuff coming up in the month. But so with where we're sitting right now, we talked about that Houston Texans deal. C.J. Stroud has his number one wide receiver now with Stefon Diggs. And the question I have is because throughout this little run for the Cincinnati Bengals in the Joe Burrow era, year one, of course, plays 10 games, goes down in game 11, out for the remainder of the season, comes back. Not really a lot of people knew kind of what to expect, and they go on to a Super Bowl, right? Like, I mean, and then they get back in year 3 to the AFC Championship game, and then year 4, obviously, Joe Burrow comes in, banged up in camp, and really just nothing seems to be flowing right. From there, they still won 9 games last year. But when Joe Burrow's completely healthy, obviously it changes the outlook and the perception and the dynamic of this team. So let's just assume that Joe Burrow, and it sounds like all reports are indicating that he is healing properly, that he's going through all the rehab and everything, and that he's going to be back and ready to go by camp and ready to go for week 1. With a 100% Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals are no doubt a Super Bowl contender. So with a Super Bowl contending Cincinnati Bengals team, you look out around the landscape of the NFL, and we'll focus on the AFC. The biggest threat to the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously their rival in the AFC, is not in their own division. They have rivals in the division, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. not just because they're led by two dynamic quarterbacks, but it's because of where those two quarterbacks have met. They've met consistently on the big stage. They've both knocked one another out of the playoffs. The Bengals have beat the Chiefs to get to a Super Bowl. The Chiefs, beat the Bengals to get to a Super Bowl, and they go on to win a Super Bowl and all that. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, you have the dynamic of the fact that he's won 3. He's in the midst of a back-to-back little dynasty-type run right now. It's fascinating watching that rivalry unfold. But with that being said, the Chiefs may be the number one team or their rival, but are they the number one threat to the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC? Look at what Houston just did. The Bills have been a threat, but the Bengals have neutralized that threat on occasion, including a win in the playoffs at Buffalo, of course. But with Buffalo taking a step back, losing Stefon Diggs, and they've lost a ton of big teams on both sides of the ball. Look at what the Houston Texans have done. I sit back and I look at that offense. I look at what they've added on defense. I'm like, man, if I'm a Bengals fan and I have a Super Bowl contending Bengals team with a 100% healthy Joe Burrow, the team I'm looking at as the biggest threat to the Bengals, it has to be C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans from where I sit. What say you, Cap?
I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm also going to answer your question the correct way. But I'm going to say my initial answer is their biggest threat is the AFC North. Like every single team in the AFC North. I mean, from the Baltimore Ravens to the Cleveland Browns to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers were god-awful on offense last year. They swept the Cincinnati Reds. So you have to take that into account. We talk about how, for whatever reason, the Cleveland Browns seem to have the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a real thing. So when you talk about the AFC North, I think everybody believes that the AFC North is the toughest division in all of professional football. So you got to get through that monster first. Granted, 3 teams from the division went to the playoffs last year. You going to put the money on that? I wouldn't put my money on 3 teams from the AFC North making the playoffs consistently. So that's my first reaction to that. If I had to pick just one team, I would still go with the champs. I would still go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I think when we talk about elite quarterbacks and quarterback play in this league, I think it's Patrick Mahomes, a major fall off, and then we have a cluster of Josh Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. Another fall off, and then everybody else, like a chunk of guys, and then a major fall off. So I think that Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we got to think about it. Like last year, it's a dirty word. People don't want to hear it. People will scoff at it. But last year, Patrick Mahomes was a game manager. He was a game manager. They were a team led by the defense last year.
Yep.
And that's what makes Patrick Mahomes so unique and so special that he could win an MVP as a chuck it all around the yard guy, and he could win the Super Bowl as a, hey man, I'm a run game. We're going to use short passes and rely on our defense and win yet another Super Bowl. So for me, it's still the champs.
Yeah, and you say the AFC North, and I'm trying not to do this on day one of this show, but AFC North, and there's a team in the AFC North, and they've had success against Pittsburgh, they've had success against Baltimore, but the one team that they have not had success against, and that's Cleveland. That's not a hot take. That's not me stirring the pot. That's not trying to get all you Bengals fans all fired up, but if it happens, it happens. The bottom line is, yes, I say the Houston Texans, mainly because Houston beat them last year with C.J. Stroud as a rookie, and Joe Burrow was, I can't say he was 100% healthy, but he was out there. And if you're out there, you're going to get judged based on what you do out there. I mean, C.J. Stroud has a win against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals as we currently sit here right now. But the problem is you face Cleveland not once but twice. They don't fear Pittsburgh. They don't fear Baltimore. I'm not saying that they fear Cleveland, but they can't seem to get over that Cleveland hump. And say what you want about Cleveland. You guys can mock Cleveland all you want. Deshaun he's this off the field. But when Deshaun's on the field, they're a pretty damn good football team. And Deshaun, on a few occasions last year, started to show signs of that former self that he was back in Houston, which was an elite-level quarterback. You saw what he did in that second half against Baltimore. All right, he had one of his best games against Tennessee, and unfortunately, he didn't get to rebound and have another game after that because he was out for 4 weeks. Comes back, does a nice little run, dominates against Baltimore, leads the Browns to a big win on the road at Baltimore, completes 14 to 14 passes, 140 yards, multiple touchdowns in the second half, and then he's out for the season. So if that Deshaun Watson comes back, with obviously the defense that is coming back for Cleveland and the weapons that they've added, Jerry Jeudy, I don't think you're in a lot of defenses, but I think you're only as good as the sum of your parts. Are they as sexy looking as the Bengals wide receiver core? No, but I do think it's still a very impressive wide receiver core, and it was good enough to allow 5 different quarterbacks to win them 11 games last year. So, yes, I think you have to put Houston and Cleveland as the 2 teams that are the biggest threat to Cincinnati out of the AFC. And you're right, Kev, you can't take back-to-back Super Bowl champions out of it. So, okay, if we're going to rank them, I guess I'd put the Chiefs because you're right. You can't ignore the fact that it's not just their rival and the team that beat them the last time they were in the AFC title game, but they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. I would put Cleveland second just because you've played them twice a season, and that defense has dominated Joe Burrow regardless of the offensive line. And then the Houston Texans, who are new money, if you will, on the AFC.
Yeah, I would go with the champs at 1, and this is obviously we're playing like mad. We're turning the injuries off. We're pretending.
God, I wish that could happen.
Injuries don't matter in this situation. We're expecting and hoping that all teams are healthy all the way through. We all know it's not gonna happen. I'm a little hesitant on the Houston Texans over the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I am caught up on the tangible that I see from Stefon Diggs. I mean, the last time Stefon Diggs had a chance to make a play in the playoff game, he dropped a touchdown pass that would have basically won them that football game. So I'm a little hesitant. I know a lot of people are jumping over the edge about the acquisition of Stefon Diggs. So I'm not that far gone on that situation yet. So I'll still have the Bengals over the Houston Texans. Obviously, I have them over the Colts, Jaguars. I have them obviously over the Pittsburgh Steelers, Patriots. I even have them over the Jets, Dolphins, and the Bills. So I would go the two top teams. I would go Chiefs, Ravens, and the Bengals and the Browns are neck and neck, neck and
Fair.
neck,
Fair.
neck and neck.
All right, so in the chat, I am curious people's thoughts. Who is the biggest threat to the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC, assuming Joe Burrow is 100% healthy? With the Houston Texans, the new shiny toy in the AFC, I jumped the gun and put them right at the top of the list. I still have them at the top of my list, but yes, got to put the Chiefs there. They play the Browns twice a year, and the Browns, whether you guys like it or not, are a very, very good, complete football team. Balanced beyond belief when you look at the run game, when you look at the pass game, when you look at what they have defensively, as far as that's concerned. The main reason I also put Houston as one of the biggest threats to the Bengals is this, Kev. They had the second worst defense in the NFL last year. And they haven't, although I do like the safety that they did get from the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they lose DJ Reader and they bring in a nice piece to the defensive line, but all they did was replace DJ Reader with another, run block, with the run stuffer right there in the front. So you've replaced DJ Reader with a similar player. You improved at safety, but you've lost some key, secondary guys. I just don't know how much better the defense has gotten to this point. Obviously, the draft is going to play a pivotal role in that, and the development of second-year players coming in. It's going to be key for the Cincinnati Bengals as well. But when you look at the strength of the Texans, and you look at the weaknesses of the Bengals, right now, that's why I also give so much credit to Houston, just because you can dice them apart. Just based on what we saw last year, there's still a lot of key free agents out there. There's still the draft coming up. A lot of teams sit back. They go through this draft. They wait to see what holes they didn't fill with the draft and see if they can plug some of those gaps with remaining cap dollars. So let's see what happens when it's all said and done.
Where you at with the Jags in this whole conversation?
I'm out on the Trevor Lawrence. I thought was supposed to be that upper echelon quarterback like a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and he's not any of those guys. He's just a Jag. Just another guy. I'm not. I like Trevor Lawrence. I want him to be. I think it's cool seeing Joe Burrow to go to a franchise like Cincinnati and make them relevant. I think it's cool, seeing Josh Allen who goes to the Bills and made them relevant again. Right? You see, obviously, Trevor Lawrence going to this. Obviously Stroud going to Houston, making them relevant. I thought we would see that from Trevor Lawrence. And for those out there that say, well, he's only a couple years into the league. Yeah, maybe. But C.J. Stroud, that's 1 year into the league. It didn't take us. It took 10 games for us to know that Burrow was the real deal. We know who these guys are coming into the league. I just think you might just have a slightly above average quarterback in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I look at him and I look at his game and I just think back. Obviously, we give him a mulligan for year one and everything that happened with Urban Meyer and yada, yada, yada. No need to go back through that again. But, his second year, he didn't play that well under Doug Peterson the first half of the season. In the back half of the season, they were amazing on offense, defense, and special teams. They made it to the playoffs. They made a run to the playoffs. They had that comeback win over the Chargers. And then the first half of last year, they were very good. But then the back half, they fell apart. So, in totality, he's had one good season. He's had a bad back half of this season, a bad start to the other season. So, he's had one good season in totality. So, Jacksonville Jaguars, if there's any Jags fans out there, man, I want to hear from y'all. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence? I mean, he's next up to get paid. I mean, you look at some of these contracts out there. You look at the contract that Dak's supposed to be getting, like $65 million a season. You look at Lamar's deal. You look at Joe Burrow's deal. Look at all these deals. You don't have to pay Sunshine that big bag after one collective year. Scary.
Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Tiger Woods is giving up something that, well, a lot of us guys really, really like, and he's giving this up
Not just guys.
so that he could improve. Yeah, everyone really likes this, I think. But Tiger Woods is giving up a particular calorie burning type of exercise to improve his game. Would you do the same? Hell no.
Has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or online at mybathcreations.com and get a new bath today.
Everyone's chasing their 5 minutes of fame. Everyone except Lee's famous recipe chicken. Because for us, creating a lasting legacy that's good enough has never been good enough. That's why we hand dip, hand bread, and fry top quality chicken strips to crisp and golden perfection. And how we bring you the best 10-piece family.
I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on. No, we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Org to find out more. I learned patience from my adoptive dad.
I got it. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to
has more advantages than ever before, including brand new equipment. That's right. Plus excellent pay benefits and a $5,000 sign-on
Wild.
What's up?
Oh, there we go. We're back. I was giving the thumbs up to the camera to let them know we're back, and then right as I did that, we're back. So just like that. Cool. Where'd it go? There you are. Okay. So Tiger Woods is reportedly the real article, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really real. It's April 4th, you know. But Tiger Woods is reportedly giving up sex to focus on the Masters tournament.
Nah, bruh.
That's just quite a headline. I mean, there's a whole article about this. I mean, like, what kind of interview, what kind of quotes do you do? Oh, Mr. Woods. Never mind. Giving up. No.
No.
I'm
Nah,
about to get fired anyway, so I might as well just say whatever I want, you know.
Might as well.
But
don't worry about it.
well, he doesn't listen to the show, so he probably won't even hear this anyways. And if he does, then that means he should understand what we have a show right now, and distracting us with pointless emails isn't going to be very solid for the show. So, anyways, we'll get I'm unhinged right now. So let's just get back to the point. So the serious stuff. Tiger Woods giving up sex to prepare for the Masters.
Never. You're a golfer. Would you give up?
That's my problem.
Would you give up sex to be better at golf?
No.
Would any of our great listeners give up sex to be better at whatever their recreational activity is?
So, according to Complex, here, Tiger Woods giving up sex to focus on Masters tournament, according to golfer's friend. So, Tiger Woods is gearing up for the Masters tournament, and apparently, according to reports, that means no sex. He says an unidentified friend. See, this is the stuff I'm talking about with when it comes to journalistic integrity. I think the one thing you should remove from all journalists in general is those anonymous sources. I'm not even going to read the rest of it. So anyone can have an anonymous friend. You know what? Kev, I heard, is so focused on the show that it's a friend of Kev's. And Kev don't know who that friend is, but he told me that Kev's given up sex to focus on the show. Like, you could just make up sources. You could just make up friends of people. You could just make up anything. Like, that's why this stuff's ridiculous. That's why I hate journalists in general more times than not. I know we're supposed to pretend to be. I'm not. People say, you're a journalist. I'm like, I'm not. I'm an opinion giver. I'm a radio host. I'm not covering events. I'm not reporting anything. I'm not. The last time I broke news. I mean, give me a break. But yeah, that's a weird article that an anonymous friend of Tiger Woods told this guy what he's doing to prepare. I mean, let's be real. Tiger Woods, you think that's what he's giving up?
Oh, I'm not giving up sex for this show.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Hopefully, I'll be having it tonight. So, look, people, like Tiger Woods, if you are actually giving up sex in order to try to win the match, you better win it. You better win this thing, man. Like, imagine that. Imagine, like, I don't know how long you practice and hunker down on the Masters. I mean, we know like boxers, they go to boxing camp for like 3-4 months at a time and lock in for a big fight. Has Tiger Woods been training for the Masters for like 3 months? You tell me you went 3 months without doing the yippity dippity? You better win. You better win.
Maybe the back issues have not been from like car wrecks and getting beat up with the clubs in recent years. Like, maybe he's just going too hard in the paint. Maybe he's just been living, maybe he spends too much time in the bunker. Maybe he gets too many holes in ones.
That's a good one.
Come on, anything else?
There's a lot more.
There has to be more. Hold on, there has to be a lot of inappropriate off puns. Don't
read the chat, whatever you do. I said, don't read the chat.
So, Drew, what up, Drew? He goes, I'd give up sex for the Bengals to win a Super Bowl. I'm married now. I'd hardly know the difference.
Oh, that's a good question. What about you? You're a Cleveland Browns fan. You've never seen them hoist the Lombardi. Would you have to tell Nora no sex for a full year? It's guaranteed that they just make it to the Super Bowl.
Why are we talking about our sex lives on the air right now? Oh my gosh, the one time that I'll have family tune into this show, it'll be this one. And no, I'm not giving up sex. I'm just
good. It's Thursday. Thursday at the Nats house. It's go time.
I'm 5'5" and I weigh over 200-something pounds. It doesn't look like self-discipline is something I'm good at, obviously. So
I'm just saying, my brother.
Exactly. My goodness. What is going on?
We got too many inside jokes on this show.
So, Elliot, Casey, whoever's running it back there, we're going to jump onto the ballpark food fails. Ballpark food fails. Okay? And I wanted to bring this up because these teams that post some of these new food features at these ballparks are horrendous.
Right.
They're horrendous. And my thing is that, so I don't know what restaurant. I went to opening day, got pretty drunk on opening day, and I don't remember what bar we went to afterwards. It was about a mile and a half away from the ballpark, and the concept was really cool. When you walk in, what's Old Scratch Pizza? It kind of reminded me of that. You go up, you place your order, and then you go. It just had that type of vibe to it, except it had some TVs in there, but it wasn't Old Scratch. It just reminded me of that. But the concept was cool. They limited their menu to nachos, hot dogs, burgers, and pizza. That's it.
Mhm.
Busy as hell. You go up there, you place your order, you get your drink. You go, obviously, you get your beer, you get your pop, whatever you want to get, and you go sit down. And they were just putting that food left and right. There was no long lines. There was no long waits. It was just simple, easy ballpark food. It was brilliant. I was a huge fan of that. So why get overcomplicated at a ballpark? Why do I need to go to Great American Ballpark or go to the Clippers? The Columbus Clippers, Kev. How about this one? Let me see if I have this. Yeah. The Columbus Clippers have what they call a hot dog Sunday. Take a look. For those watching in the chat right now, if we're watching on YouTube right now, do you see this, Kev? A hot dog Sunday. And so it looks like they took hot dogs, mashed it up in a little jar. Yeah, that's what, and it looks like they put relish, mustard, and ketchup in there and mashed it all up. And then they put a churro on top. I have no clue why the churro is a great little garnish, but it doesn't make any sense. So basically, they just took a hot dog, they mashed it up in this little mason jar looking plastic thing, and then they smashed it all up with like I said, with the mustard and the ketchup and the relish, and said, "Here you go," and people buy that.
It's called a hot dog. What again?
A hot dog Sunday. I wouldn't eat it on Saturday, Monday through Friday, on Sunday, even if no. What are we doing? And why is that something that they are doing to get people to the ballpark? And do people actually order it? Yes. What would you do if you sat next to someone that came with a little jar just full of mashed up hot dogs with all that in there? Just get a hot dog. And that's why I'm late getting back to watch the game, because some idiot behind the counter is mashing up hot dogs in a jar, and you ordered it? Nope.
This is disgusting.
It is.
It's almost as disgusting as 7-Eleven with the hot dog water. They're selling hot dog water.
You said that today. Was that you that said that?
Yes.
Hooper? Yeah.
That is disgusting. Look, man, people like nasty food. And like there's a genre on YouTube and on TikTok where people go around testing out all these weird food items. Like it's a thing. It's a thing that people are doing nowadays. I mean, I just Googled.
Okay, hold up. It might not be real. You know what? This pisses me off. If I got got, it'll be really mad.
No, dude. I think it's real.
Is it real? Drew Garrison said they tweeted it was April Fool's.
So I Googled hot dog Sunday, and I found something even more disgusting than that. It's an actual Sunday with a hot dog. You get
well, it is a real thing.
No, this is something else. This is a hot dog on a bun with 3 scoops of ice cream with a hot dog. So that's the hot dog Sunday that I Googled, and that also is disgusting.
Okay, well, let's just say I got it, and let's just say that one was fake. There's more.
But wait,
there's more. So, Drew Garrison, thank you. If I got, I got. And you want to know what's ironic about that? On April Fool's, I made a promise. I was not going to read any headline. I was not going to read anything. I was not going to fall for anything on social media. And then what happens? I got 4 days later, 3 days later. I don't know if that was it or not. I've only seen one person say it was April Fool's.
I'm looking for it.
I'm the only idiot that can get April Fooled 3 days later.
On the 4th.
On the 4th. But there's more. So let's just continue on with this. More ballpark fails, in my opinion. So the Atlanta Braves have what they call as a 4-bagger. Okay? It's a 4-bagger. And when you take a look at what this is, again, it's, to me, it's anything that is going to take a long time to prepare.
Okay.
I have a problem with. Because, you have 30 to 40,000 people at your ballpark lining up to get food, to get drinks, to get back. You have people waiting in long lines, all this stuff. So then they serve this like it's 4 1-pound burgers with a bunch of brisket on top and fries. And think about how long it takes to prepare all of that stuff. Like, I just think if I owned a team, and I would be a horrible owner. I'd be a horrible owner. If I owned a team, it would just be simply nachos, burgers. Huh?
That was Sterling.
Oh. Well, no. I don't know about that. Just burgers, nachos, hot dogs, and pizza. Just keep it moving. Keep the line moving. Why are we coming up with all these elaborate, crazy ideas to keep people waiting longer? The Pirates have what they call the Renegade. And it's the pierogi, long hot dog with a bunch of other stuff poured over the top. It just looks absolutely insanely gross and ridiculous. And that's why I'm getting back to my seat to watch the game, because someone's ordering that. And it's not even convenient to eat.
So, Robert, question for these ballparks that do this. What's the return on investment? How many people are ordering that every single night you're open for a ball game? Because like you talked about that pierogi and situation, like that's a lot of food going into one place. It's almost like you've never been, but I go to Las Vegas pretty often. Like they have like huge margaritas and things of that nature.
I go to Las Vegas pretty often. You kept Nash.
So like they have those like crazy huge margaritas, and I see people walking around with them left and right. Like, man, like you're buying that, and that's like $50, like at a baseball game in the hot sun. You're right. Like if I'm going, I'm getting two dogs, a little mustard, a little relish, and a beer, and that's it. Like I couldn't imagine eating that much food in one sitting in the hot sun.
It was April Fool's.
They got
I got
it happens.
I got, but a lot of people got it. Remember, I told you the other day there's been no impressive April Fool. I have to be impressed with this one if it got me.
I got, but not on April Fool's. Got a couple days in advance. So if anybody follows me on TikTok at one Kev,
I got told I to get a raise once and I didn't. So
you definitely got.
I got on that.
You're getting it.
Yes.
So if you want to follow me anywhere on social media, it's the number one Kev Nash on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. So any breaking news, especially that was going down for NFL free agency, I would give my quick hot takes on it and everything. And then on Saturday, when I'm not supposed to be quote unquote working, I'm just chilling, laying around the house. I see news break that Derrick Rose is retiring, and I make a TikTok video, go about
that
my
wasn't
business,
real.
and that was not real.
Oh, I thought he retired.
That was not real. I got. So somebody in the comments said you got by the fake Woj. And then I went back to the tweet. I was like, it was the fake Woj. They had the blue check mark that had his picture, that had the whole thing. But then if you go in there, it has like a 0 instead of a letter O.
That's how they get
Got
single
me.
time.
Got me.
Every
Got me.
single
Got
damn
me.
time.
Blocked them. Blocked them.
Unbelievable. Skinner and Kev show.
Blocked and muted.
Skinner and Kev show here on Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Win AM. Now I got to be embarrassed because I got really threw off the rhythm of the segment. I appreciate Drew Garrison for highlighting it. He said I was a professional journalist. I'm not. Apparently, I need to fact check some stuff.
Only if we had a producer.
But it was so grossed out. They actually went through the length of mashing up the hot dog and everything in there. And they put the churro on top. Well, let's not act like no one would order that. There'd be some weirdos out there that would.
Indeed.
Here on Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM, and of course live on the Chatterbox Sports Network as well. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
YouTube channel that's they're trying something else. They something that they're trying to get figured out. So I believe we're live on air. That's all I know, and I think we're live and off the YouTube channel. We are. Okay, cool. Okay. If we're talking about the ballpark food fails and stuff, like I said, just make it simple. When I go to a game, I got tired of how long you have to wait in line for everything. And when you're waiting in line because they have to create all the, I mean, no one's going to a ballpark expecting to have like steak and mashed potatoes and all like this, fancy schmancy stuff. Not that mashed potatoes are fancy schmancy, but when I go to a ball game, Kev, I just want a hot dog. I just want a burger. I just want a slice of pizza, nachos. That's it. Imagine how much quicker you'd get people in and out of line and back to their damn seat if you just had the basics.
My only rebuttal is they're doing it for a reason. It's for you and I to talk about it on the air. And people obviously are buying this stuff because if they weren't, they would still only be selling peanuts, burgers, and dogs. People are buying this stuff, man. Like I said, there's TikTok people that go all across the country trying out these weird food items left and right.
Wow.
I mean, we got people talking about putting Skyline chili on the Rosa's pizza in the chat.
It's going that far?
It's going that far.
I like Skyline chili. I like Rosa's. Maybe.
What about together?
You never know. I try it. I try it. You don't get big like me by not trying some weird stuff like that. I'm just going. But all right, I want to talk a little Reds baseball as we come back here again. And in the little rundown bar on the side, you'll see where it says Reds/Ted Lasso. And it got me to thinking. Did you ever watch Ted Lasso?
I did not.
So Ted Lasso, everyone loves quoting that movie and all this stuff. And I was thinking about the Reds. There's two different occasions so far in the early goings of this Reds season. We're going to sit back and say, "Oh, that's not good. This could spiral out of control." We've seen the Reds get off to horrendous starts in seasons past, and then once April gets through and you get into May, all of a sudden they flip a switch and they look like a completely different ball club. And then you get to the end of the season, you're like, man, if you take out April, they were a 500 ball club. Like, it's just very frustrating when you look at how bad the Reds have been in the month of April and seasons past. So I get a little weary when I see the Reds get out to a bad start. Now, 4-2 is not a bad start. Okay, it's not a bad start. But there's been some things about them that have been inconsistent, things that we should have probably expected from a very young ball club. And I don't think we really, truly put that into account at the beginning of the season. We're enamored by the idea of what year two would look like for Spencer Steer. And, of course, we would love to see what Matt McClain would be here and Arroyo and those guys. And I completely get that. But the one thing that we have to keep remembering is this. I can't remember when the lines came out for the win totals for the Reds. It was like less than what they had won last year. The thing that we seem to forget is what makes this team so fun is the youth. But what makes this team so interesting is the youth. But what makes this team so inconsistent is the youth. That's why one outing they look like a young team, and the next outing they look like an exciting team from last year. And the reason I put the Reds/Ted Lasso is because there's a scene or there's a little part of that show where they talk about goldfish, right? Have that short memory. All right, have a bad outing, things aren't going well. Just if you make a mistake, put it behind you. Who cares? Right? That was one of the goofy little quotes, goofy little pieces of that show that I rolled my eyes at. That feel good bumper sticker type stuff. But here's what makes this team interesting to me and what makes them different than most young teams. We watched their first loss of the season. Right? We watch how Alexis Diaz goes out there and just blows a lead. He had a horrible spring. He has a horrible outing in just the first couple games of the season. He blows the lead, and I'm like, oh, man, he's not who we thought he was last year. One of the best bullpens in baseball, one of the best closers in baseball. Oh, man, we're already seeing a bad spring. He already has a bad outing. What I liked about what we saw from Alexis Diaz when he comes in for the close situation last night, he completely forgot about that bad outing. He completely forgot about the fact that he had a horrible spring. It was a great outing. It's exactly what the Reds desperately needed last night. I'm watching guys like, Elly De La Cruz, who had probably his worst start of his career with the 3 errors just a couple games ago. And I was fascinated to see how that was going to roll over into last night's game. Would he be able to put that behind him? Would he be able to, rebound mentally? Physically, the guy's a physical specimen. He's going to be fantastic. He's a hell of an athlete. In fact, I think his biggest strength is his biggest weakness. He counts on his athleticism to make big plays, and sometimes that gets Elly De La Cruz is this. And I mentioned it briefly yesterday Radio Network, where I said, okay, Elly De La Cruz, I'm not mad at the mistakes that he's made. I could forgive him for mistakes in regards to his at-bats.
He's still, I mean, he's 21, 22 years old. He's still learning Major League Baseball pitching. If he's inconsistent at the plate, I don't like that, but I could understand it. It takes time to adjust to Major League Baseball pitching. But one thing you cannot do is make mistakes that even middle schoolers would get scolded for. If you go watch a middle school baseball game and you make the 3 errors that Elly De La Cruz made, you'd be getting on to those 7th and 8th graders, right? You'd be getting on to the freshmen and the high schoolers. I mean, even in Little League Baseball, kids are still getting scolded by their coach for not properly putting the glove down or being in a position to scoop the ball and get the ball out quickly, right? So those criticisms were fair. I had no problem with people jumping on Elly De La Cruz's case for that. But at the same time, what I did love was, man, he had that horrible outing and he bounced back last night, has a hit, has an RBI, contributed to the Reds' win. That's what I like to see. The Reds have had 2 horrendous losses. Both losses have been horrendous losses. Not that they lost, how they lost. All right. They had a lead going into the bottom of the ninth, and boom, or to the top of the ninth, wherever it was, it was a home game. So it was bottom of the ninth, boom, Diaz loses it. That could snowball. There's a lot of bad things that have happened for the Reds as of late. They could have snowballed. Christian Encarnacion Strand was 0 for his first 11. That could have snowballed. And he hits that walk-off home run, and he's hitting really well ever since then. That's what I really like about this team is just the resiliency early on. They're 4-2. You'd like to see more out of them. I completely get that. Those 2 losses, though, I mean, they're 4-2. We should be happy with the 4-2 start, but those losses were loud losses. They were alarming losses. And my favorite part about both of those losses, the team bounced back with the win. That's what I like to see. Be a Goldfish, the Ted Lasso tie-in. It's corny, cheesy radio, but that's what I'm here for. That's what I've really liked so far. Is those 2 losses could have derailed a run. They could have gone on a weak run where they just couldn't win games and they couldn't get it right. They were able to get it right less than 24 hours later in their very next game. When you're not stringing together losses, that's a good thing. And most importantly, they're 4-2 and they've won back-to-back series.
I'm with you 100% because we talk about this all the time. Like, oh man, there's 162 games in the season. One hurt you. Like we hear that a lot from the fan base. But when it comes down to September and we start talking like, okay, they're 3 games back of this or 3 games back of that, and you're down to like last 10 games of the season, then you go ahead and think about all those games back in April and May that you blew leads in situations like that. People, watch baseball right now because it's the new thing that's on. You're obviously rooting for your team, but you don't really get dialed in until, let's be real, man, after the NFL draft is over and you're smack dab in the middle of the summer, the kids are out of school, then you really start dialing in and people realize, wait, we're this good or we're this bad? Oh, man, well, I didn't notice. But, like, every single game counts. I know it matters more in NFL because there's such a short number of them. I mean, we look at it right now in the NBA, it's an 82 games season, but we're looking at the Cavs right now like, all right, you guys were in second place, but now you're in third place. Look at all these games that you lost. You lost games to the Pistons. You just got blew out by like 30-some points the other night, I think, to the Washington Wizards. Like, we start thinking about all those games, and you're not taking advantage of your opportunity to leapfrog Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's not playing good basketball either. So you're like, oh, you're squandering opportunities to take advantage of this. And the same thing can be said in baseball, but people don't look at it like that because it's so many games.
It's a Kinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. The Reds off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a moment. But Kev, the Reds not the only Major League Baseball team in the state of Ohio that's hot right now. So Trey Fowler was in our studio last Friday when we were kind of going through our test run a little bit, and we introduced everyone to that game, cap or no cap. Cap means lie, no cap means truth. And one of the cap or no caps was the Cleveland Guardians and the Cincinnati Reds would both make the playoffs in 2024. Everyone piled on the Guardians, including you. You're a Guardians fan. You piled on him. Now, mainly because, it was a very less than flattering offseason. They didn't really do much for you to feel enthusiastic and excited about the Guards heading into the season. But the reason I said I give them a shot is because they have the most important piece to the puzzle, and that's pitching. And Bieber has been fantastic to start, but they're winning because of pitching, but it's not just that. They're winning because of a well-rounded approach. I mean, you look at the Guardians, they're 5-2 to start. The Tigers, and you're talking about the AL Central right now. Tigers, the only undefeated team in baseball as we currently sit here, and the Guardians are 5-2. But it's not just that they're 5-2, Kev. It's the fact that they're plus 28 in run differential. I mean, they've been getting dominant pitching, and they've been dominating, as far as putting runs up on the board. The Guardians, who I thought would be one of the most unenjoyable teams to watch in baseball this season, have been pretty damn fun to watch 7 games in. The Cleveland Guardians have scored 46 runs. That ranks number 1 in the American League and 4th in all of Major League Baseball.
Sure didn't see that coming. Now, obviously, I'll say anything that I would say to any of the team out there, it's early. 7 games in the season. They have yet to play a home lot. All these games have been on the road. They're at Twins right now. It's 0-0 in the bottom of the second. But, just like I said with the Reds, every game counts. So if this is something good for the Guardians, I'm all here for it. I'm down to September and they're still in the hunt because of the hot start that they had in April. I'm here for it. But the reality side of it is I think that eventually the bats will cool off. We'll start winning games 2-1 or losing games 2-0.
That's the
things
spirit.
like that. But I'm just not a believer in how this team is constructed and how many bats they actually have in the lineup. I can be proven wrong. I'm not the biggest baseball fan out there. I'm not the biggest baseball aficionado. But hey, I'll be happy if I'm wrong. I'll be happy if we win the division. I'll be wearing my merch left and right, screaming to the heavens. I check in on every single game. I'm not able to watch my Guardians because I live down here in Dayton, but I check in. Me and my pops talk about the Guardians every single morning on the way to work. Like, hey, how was the game? How did they look? What did I miss? Things of that nature. But I mean, 5-2, I'll take it.
Kenner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Speaking of the Guardians, back when they were the Cleveland Indians, one of my favorite baseball movies growing up was the movie Major League.
Mm-hmm.
And, people make jokes all the time of, this team is they can be reenacted in the movie Major League if they brought it back. But we're witnessing right now in baseball a live version of Major League, and that's the Oakland Athletics. Did you see? Yes. So they're being relocated. Where are they being relocated to? Sacramento. The Sacramento A's or whatever. I heard over on Off the Bench earlier they were making jokes about what should their name be called? Are they going to be called the Sacramento A's or what? And someone said, well, with how bad they are, they should be called the Triple A's. I thought that was a pretty good one. I don't know who gets credit for that, but it was not mine. But that was pretty good. But we are literally witnessing a live version of this. I mean, you want to talk just about a pathetic franchise. I mean, so on Twitter there was this crumpled up piece of paper that I guess was found at the ballpark that someone shared, and it looks like it's directions for the state. It's instructions for the stadium staff there. That includes your vendors. That includes everyone there. It's interesting. So this says at the top, Oakland A's 4-2-24 against the Boston Red Sox. It has customer service instructions at the top, and it says engage with customers, direct them online if we do not have what they are looking for, keep everything neat, clean, and organized, and the last one that caught my attention, Kev, I understand that the fan base may be upset with the team, but do what we can to make their experience with us a positive one.
Wasn't it last year where they had the raccoon in the press box?
Was that the A's?
I believe it was the A's
press box.
The raccoon in the press box. This is sad, man. This is sad. And this goes bigger than the Oakland A's. I mean, you look at the Golden State Warriors. They used to play in Oakland. They now play in San Francisco. And I know they try to make the Oakland, San Francisco like one big thing, the Bay Area and things of that nature. No, Oakland and San Francisco are two totally different destinations. I mean, remember the Raiders used to play in Oakland. This is just a city that is under siege. It is a city that is falling apart at the seams. My brother, he does a lot of traveling for work, and he had to travel to Oakland for work one time, and he just called me, like, hey, this looks just like East Cleveland. So anybody out there that's ever been to my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, is a suburb of Cleveland called East Cleveland that I grew up in. And when I go through that area of town now, it is sad. There's so many condemned buildings and things of that nature, and it's like, it looks just like that. They have 10 cities and things of that nature out there. Oakland is a dying city. And now all the franchises, all the sports franchises are leaving. I mean, if you look at a team like the Oakland A's, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember the days of the Bash Brothers. I remember Ricky Nickerson playing for the Oakland A's and things of that nature. I mean, the Oakland A's, I mean, those were like the cool jerseys and hats to have, like the green with the gold A on it. Like, those were just popular in our community. Even though, like, people still love the Guardians, they just wanted to have it because it looked cool. And I mean, Ricky, guys like that, to see the franchise in the condition that it is now is sad. And them leaving for the betterment of the franchise, I'm not always for teams just up leaving, but like, they don't have any income coming in to build them a new stadium. They're not going to be able to create that buzz unless they relocate, and ultimately they're probably going to end up in.
Yeah, it goes on that sheet that was found as well. There was just more on there. And again, I understand that the fan base may be upset with the team, but do what we can to make the experience the best positive one. It says now it goes on to talk about the product. If you see anything that says rooted in Oakland, it must be taken down immediately. Try not to highlight the product that focuses on the name Oakland. As far as jerseys are concerned, and it's all crumpled up, so it's hard to see, but like just continue to go down. So Seagate closure. It says if attendance is under 5,000 per game, the team will be closing Seagate. The notes at the bottom say the expected attendance for that night's game, 3,500. As far as that's concerned, they are still not doing gift cards, and I don't know who Drew is, but apparently Drew is here all week. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. Not just reading the paper. That I feel like that should not just be floating around the ballpark, but it's made its rounds all over the place. And I could have got again. I have no clue. I mean, Ben Verlander shared.
I was just about to say that. Shouldn't that go out like in an email as opposed to like a paper just like stuck around the?
I mean, it could all be a thing just to make them look bad, but you can also see that being taped up in the concession areas too, or whatever. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of closed doors around here at the station.
Do we?
And like things that are important like that should not be just sent out like that. It should be in an email. It should be said person to person, manager to employee and things of that nature. It's just the definition of a badly run franchise. I mean, shoot, I'm talking about 80s and early 90s. I mean, shoot, they like the guys that invented football. Like, it's crazy to watch a franchise just crumble like this.
Yeah, again, the Center Health Park in West Sacramento will host the A's for the 2025 through 2027 seasons ahead of the team's relocation to Las Vegas in 2028. Now, the ball fits about 10,000 people. People were making fun of that earlier. I'm like, well, if they're struggling to put 5,000 in a 40,000 seat, 10,000 actually, it's a mid-major approach. Just put less seats in the venue. It appears to be fuller when it's all said and done. But the A's are just going to be. I mean, imagine, how horrendous that would be if that's a team that we follow. Because this is like a slow burn.
Yeah,
you went through it last year, this year, and then for the next 2 years, you're going to watch the team leave Oakland. The A's are just non-existent for 2 years. How do you run a ball club? How would you like to play for them? No one wants to play for them, but they have to fill out the roster of players. This is just a horrendous situation for everybody. You're going to put them in that minor league ballpark, but who's realistically going to want to go? You're not watching. There's no team pride. There's no sense of pride with anything. And what is your approach? Do you try to build a contender over the next 2 years and say, hey, we don't want to wait till we get to Oakland, or we don't want to wait till we get to Las Vegas to start adding weapons? Do you try to let that be the selling point? Hey, be a part of the come up, be a part of the journey. What do you do if you're the A's? If this was a Reds organization that was relocating out of Cincinnati, and God, I hope that never happens. I'm a Browns fan. I watched it happen with the Cleveland Browns, right? But with the Browns, it was 1 year you're in, 1 year you're out. With the A's, it's a 4-year burn. It's a 4-year burn. I don't know what the approach is. It just seems like it's a waste of a effort all around. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. It just seems like a very crappy situation to be an A's fan.
Absolutely, to be a fan, and imagine being an employee. This is jobs loss. I mean, like you talked about, people working at the concession stands, people working the parking, people working at the gates, people working at the ticket office. These are all jobs that are lost by hardworking people. And I mean, the city's already struggling, so now you're about to have more people looking for jobs that aren't there.
It's Pinner and Kev show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Today, of course, was our first show on the Chatterbox Sports Network. Of course, the audio stuff will get ironed out. We'll be right back at it again tomorrow, 3 to 5 on the Chatterbox Sports Network, with 3 to 6 here in the 1410 Wing AM. We have another hour of the Kinner and Kev show on 1410 Wing AM, and then more local. If you are a wrestling fan, Benjamin Chimera, a local professional wrestler that does a program with us every Friday called Card Subject to Change, every Thursday, from 6 to 8 p.m. right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So that's coming up after our show. It's a big week for wrestling fans. It's WrestleMania. The Rock is back. Did you see him and Roman Reigns on Kimmel last? Was it Kimmel or I don't know which one he was on.
So I was talking to our buddy Ryan Drake about it, and he was like, yes, in Philly this weekend. I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's indoor. He's like, no, it's outside. I was like, wait, it's cold outside. It's going to be cold outside this weekend.
Is it going to be cold in Philly? Well, I mean, you go to a baseball game, it's cold.
No.
You may not, but people go.
No.
And these tickets are pretty damn expensive to go watch the WrestleMania.
I go to football games in the cold. But I'm not going out there wearing spandex.
So I've never been to a WrestleMania. I want to go to a WrestleMania. Now they do 2 nights.
So you went
Double
to
the
SummerSlam.
opportunity. I went to SummerSlam in Detroit last year, indoor.
Yes, dude.
Now SummerSlam is going to be in Cleveland this year.
Outdoor.
Yes, in August. So it'll be hot.
Muggy.
It's
Where
fun.
your bug spray? It's right on the lake.
It's fun. But I don't know how many WWE fans there are that tune in through the Chatterbox end, but we're getting WWE is going to be in SmackDown will be in Cincinnati here in a few weeks. So we might be giving away some tickets tomorrow. I'm just trying to gauge to see the interest in wrestling amongst the Cincinnati listeners. And Dayton listeners have a chance to win these as well. We're giving away Monday Night Raw tickets. They'll be in Columbus that same week. They'll be in Columbus on Monday night, and then Cincinnati on Friday night for SmackDown. I just want to see The Rock. That's all I care about. I've never seen The Rock live.
You go.
Should.
You know what?
I might go.
I know a guy with tickets.
I don't know if you do, though. There might be a little hold up on that. But yeah, we'll be doing SummerSlam ticket giveaways, all that fun stuff as far as that's concerned. All right, good stuff. Peter and Kev show. Thank you to Trace and to Casey and to Elliot and everyone back at the Chatterbox Studios, of course, for getting us off and rolling, iron out some of those audio difficulties here. Hopefully by tomorrow, if not by early next week for sure. But that wraps it up for us here on the Chatterbox side. We still have a lot more to get into. Hour number 3 coming up next. It's the Kidder and Kev show, 1410 ESPN Radio.